Hello, everybody, and welcome to the December 15th Trips and Traps. I'm Andy Serling, once again joined by Donovan.
We have 4 races to bring you in 2 segments this week, and they're all maiden races, and we'll start off with the 5th race from December 7th, a maiden claiming race going 1 mile and 70 yards for 2-year-olds. We're going to look at the 4 Guyana Star Dweej.
Yeah, the cat's kind of out of the bag on Guyana Star Dweej, but we also, first of all, we like the name, but second of all, it's just such an interesting trip and race that there's not a lot to find, and it just seemed like an interesting one to show.
Yeah, the Guyana Star Dweej a couple lengths slow out of the gate, and, kind of will get back on the picture here toward the back of the pack as they make their way into the clubhouse turn and then disappear. But once they straighten away on the backstretch, you'll see him get back in position on the camera at least, and then make a quick wide move down the backstretch to rejoin the lead or gain the lead.
Yeah, these are the kind of moves that very rarely result in horses hitting the board, much less finishing a reasonable second behind an odds-on favorite. And it was just an odd situation. I think what's interesting in showing it, and here you see Guyana Star Dweej is already making his run, which will eventually get him into the lead pretty darn quick. And it's interesting to see Ariel Smith rode this horse, and we're going to watch a race in the second segment where Ariel Smith overrates a horse in a race that has that has no pace. And I think part of the discussion, and it's like a long discussion, is the amount of horses that seem to be rated unnecessarily here so far in the 2-turn races here on the inner.
Always a frustrating factor. Now, the pace was fairly slow in the beginning and middle stages of the race. Now it quickens up here as the 2 leaders kind of draw away from the rest of the field. Guyana Star Dweej is clear now and moves over toward the inside. Yeah, did make up a lot of ground on the backstretch.
Yeah, I mean, this horse made some. You think about it, this horse left the picture going into the turn, and you got to get back pretty far, all things considered. Was out of the picture and made this huge run to the lead, and I thought, in the context of this race, hung on very well.
Stays on very gamely here, no doubt. I mean, beaten 4.5 lengths, but the winner was the 3-5 favorite Dance with Monarch, who was taking a big drop in class from good maiden special weights into this maiden claiming tag, and sat the right kind of trip. Guyana Star Dweej holds on really well here.
Yeah, I would say Guyana Star Dweej ran the best race of anybody, and the problem, of course, the problem is twofold, but it's a sloppy track, so you don't know if this horse is going to perform as well on what's likely to be a fast track in the future. We just don't get that many wet tracks because of the nature of the inner track as it gets colder. But also, you've got a horse who was 15-1 in this field that's going to be a much shorter price next time. So you're a little reticent to want to bet, but geez, this horse ran well.
Yeah, definitely, and ran on the turf first time out in a maiden special weight there. So, maybe you do have a good case there about him maybe preferring a wet track since they ran him on the turf. They probably thought he was turf met. We'll see how he does on a fast track next time out, but certainly an interesting one that'll factor in your handicapping, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think, listen, sometimes the horses take themselves out of the race, and this horse broke slowly, but I just wish in general the riders here came out of the gate moving forward, looking for position, as opposed to far too often looking to take back. And when you consider, listen, we've had a little bit of an inside track a couple of days, but in general, it's not necessarily even biased. The 2-turn races are going to favor horses that get position towards the inside. So I'm surprised that more riders don't want to get better position earlier in races.
We'll turn our attention to a sprint now. This is the 9th race from December 8th, a 2-year-old New York bred maiden claimer. We're going to look at the 4 Tannery Town.
Yeah, Tannery Town's a horse that in different circumstance, I don't know that he would have won this race, but you'll see him steadying out here at the start. I mean, geez, it's a 5-horse field, and he steadies back to last. What's interesting is ultimately this race ended up collapsing, yet the collapse may have been due, partly at least, because Tannery Town's wide middle move.
Yeah, you see the 2 horses on the lead right here, the 2 Tax Return and the 10 Dan's Gold, and Tannery Town, not on the screen right now, so Tannery Town's going to make up about a 5-length margin here to get to the front.
Yeah, it's not in some ways so dissimilar to the race that we just showed. A horse who's trailing the field, leaves the picture briefly, and makes this big wide middle move. It's frustrating. I can see that perhaps the rider, the pace didn't seem that fast. They're not very good, these horses. They are what they are. But I'd like to see Tannery Town in a field, obviously, a similar type quality, but if he can break and not get steadied out in the race and get position and make a run in the middle of the race, because he had trouble in his start before this as well.
Certainly, I'd take my chances with him against the 2 horses that are toward his inside that are on the lead, Tax Return and Dan's Gold, and the eventual winner, Gary Contessa Firster, and the red cap on the outside, going to mow them all down.
Yeah, there's no question in my mind that Tannery Town, if he meets the same horses, obviously, he doesn't have to worry about the winner for a while, that he can and will beat them if he gets a fair trip. But at some point, his value is going to go away. You still got, he was 15-1 in this race in a 5-horse field, and listen, a first-time starter won, but he was good enough to beat the other horses. The question is, where where does he end up in his next start?
Yeah, he'll probably be in a maiden claiming tag again, and we'll see who else shows up in there. That's the key.
Well, hopefully the next time he shows up with the purse increases, you get a bigger field, so you get a chance to get a better price. We don't need to get 5-horse fields. They're tough races to get good odds and make a lot of money sometimes. Anyway, we always can use your help, as you can see. We've got two 2-race segments. We can do 2 3-race segments. Give us some help. Trips and Traps at NYRAinc.com.
Thanks for watching, and come on back for the second segment.